Hey, what's going on, everybody? You are listening to episode 7 of the Cast Bros. My name is Adam Castro.
My name is Andrew Castro.
So, a lot has happened over the past couple of days, this whole week. Obviously, we haven't put out an episode since before November 3rd, and you guys know what day that was. We don't even have to say it. Andrew, how are you doing?
I am doing perfectly fine. I am college. I I have two things to look forward to every week. Skyping Stephanie on Friday and doing these podcasts with you. We do most of the recording on Tuesdays. That's basically my my bi-weekly schedule. Yeah, just making it through all of the crap we're getting on social media over the election, all of the turmoil that it's caused. See, a lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, not just in the world, but with us as well. I got a haircut, in case anyone didn't notice. A lot of my friends tell me that this was the wrong choice. Supposedly, my hair was majestic. That's a word I've heard used to describe them now that they're gone.
That
That
is
no one
not what I would
complimented
use.
them. No one complimented them when they were there. So
More like mess-gestic.
yeah, shave that beard and then we'll talk. Anyway, so yeah, it's been a long week. What about you?
Man, I called you or I texted you or something. I don't know. I messaged you or something when everything went down on November 3rd, and like I think I am not alone in that my sleep schedule was completely out of whack. Right? We were like. It was almost like waking up thinking you were late to something because you knew information was going to be there. Updates about the election or updates about what was going to happen.
Everyone
And
refreshing that one page constantly throughout
yeah,
the
like
day.
scrolling down, refresh. Like my body knew what time to go to bed and knew what time to wake up. Like there was going to be new information out. So sleep schedule was all thrown out of whack. The weather changed. I don't know about how it is for you, but it got really
Oh,
rainy and really cold over
it
here.
went from summer to winter over here overnight, and I don't know how that happened. And it's only at night. It gets freezing cold at night, and during the day it's hot. I should be used to this from California, but it's different here. I don't know. It's dry.
Yeah, it was. It went from like going dark at like 7 p.m. to now it's literally dark at like 5:15, 5:30. So,
Well, that's because
um,
daylight savings. We don't have that over here.
well, okay, whatever. But yeah, it was huge weather change, which for me, this week was the first week of a online virtual competition that I started, and I had to do a 1 mile time trial. And one of the attempts that I did was in the middle of like on and off raining on the track. And I
Ooh.
was like, I have to do it today because today's the deadline and this is the last chance I have to do it. So I'm like practicing warming up while it's like raining and then it stops raining and raining and then it stops raining.
Well, you're on
Luckily
a
I
track though, right?
it was actually a asphalt track, not a rubber track. So I could have easily slipped if it was too wet or if I
Mm.
wasn't wearing good shoes. I was wearing great shoes, and luckily it was not raining while I was running. So, weather, man, weather. I enjoy it though. It smells like Christmas. It feels like it's getting closer to that holiday season, which I love. This is one of my favorite times of the year. This is one of my wife's favorite times of the year.
You want to know what Christmas smells like in California? Wet asphalt, apparently. Um,
It's true. It's actually very true.
we don't get snow. We don't get pine trees. We get
Wet
slightly
asphalt.
less smoke in the air, and people refusing to cut their grass.
Oh yeah, there was still there. I guess there was still a fire going on in California somewhere. So evidently, it wasn't the record-breaking heat. It was still just fires in California. But yeah, that's how it was going over for me. Yeah,
Speaking of which, speaking of the time difference, it is an hour later for me than it is for him, and we're starting late. So I'm gonna bring this up now because I need it. This is the 3D Liberty Pop energy drink. This is one of the ones that Adam's already tried that he's been dying to make me try.
Tastes like America.
That's what he says. Like I said, I haven't had these in a long time. I tried one of them while I was back home for Halloween, and it is what I remember it tasting like. So let's see what this one in particular. The one I tried was the Red, White, and Boom.
That's right.
I'll probably be drinking that in another episode. I wanted to space these out, make them last.
All right, he's taking the drink. He's putting it in his mouth.
All right, this one tastes way better than the Red, White, and Boom one. I think it's because I can taste more of the energy drink than I can the Liberty Pop, where it's just it has a little bit more of a kick, but I can still get the flavor. I like it.
There you go. Okay, and I have good old-fashioned coffee, bro. Got coffee today. Got it in my Hard Rock Cafe mug, which has all these cool, expensive guitars that I'll never own. But that's what I got going on right now.
We used to fight over that when we were younger because I would always steal it from him and use it as an ice cream cup.
Oh yeah, we would use mugs for ice cream because our mom was very intelligent. Is very intelligent. I don't want to say was, is. And we would always have cold hands when putting ice cream in cups or bowls. And so what she said was, okay, well, if you put it in a mug, well, now you've got this handle that's away from the mug, so you don't have cold hands holding the ice cream. You can just put it in the mug. There you go.
See, but the consequence of that would be we would fill the mugs regardless of what size. And we had like those old grandmother mugs that you see on like Friends at the coffee shop where they're all different sizes and they're huge, and we'd fill those up. One time Stephanie came over and we served ice cream, and I gave her a full mug of ice cream. She was like, I thought you were going to give me a scoop. I'm like, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. We don't go by the scoop. We go by the quart. And we would grow up only getting the big tubs of ice cream that are meant to last a family for like a month. It lasted us 2 days.
When we would ask who wants ice cream, what kind of ice cream do you want? It wasn't because we were going to get different scoops. We were going to get different half gallons of ice cream for every different person. And unfortunately, I don't not like any ice cream really, and so I'd eventually finish all of them off.
No. We couldn't get chocolate chip ice cream for the longest time.
Oh yeah,
because you put it in Mom's mind that you didn't like it, you hated it.
No, I didn't.
So we had to get cookies and cream.
No, I didn't like it, dude.
Cookies and cream, and it became our staple ice cream. But I liked chocolate chip, and I was deprived of chocolate chip.
Okay, no. Let me tell you. I don't know. I still don't understand it, but for whatever reason, the chocolate melting in my mouth made me sick. Like, it made me sick. I cannot explain it. It made me like that mouth watering, like, oh, what's in my mouth is gross kind of feeling. I got it with gummy bears too. I have no idea why. I have no clue why, but
only you would do that.
Okay, no, but at one point, I don't even know when, but like maybe like 5 years ago, I don't even know when, but at some point that stopped happening, and I liked chocolate chip again, and so yeah, we're cool to get chocolate chip again, bro.
Whatever,
it's all good.
Now that you're out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I should mention that we got smart. Like, this isn't your ordinary coffee cup. This is a pretty big coffee cup, right? We got smart, and we just went straight to the soup bowls and picked up some... See,
because our mom found these really nice decorative soup bowls that also had mug handles.
And were perfect for ice cream.
Which, again, the same rule applies. The consequence of that is now we're filling a bowl. Yeah.
Moderation was not... we were taught to enjoy what we had.
Yes, absolutely.
But, yeah, I know. Hey, dude, cookies and cream is always going to be a favorite of mine. That's for sure. I enjoy a good chocolate chip. What is your favorite ice cream?
See, I've only recently started trying different kinds of ice cream because of that whole we would only eat the same kinds every week. We'd only get cookies and cream for the whole family or chocolate marble. I think my two favorites are Moose Tracks because I like the brownie. I like the little bit of caramel and the little cups of whatever is in there. Like all of them are different. I don't think I've seen moose tracks that are the same, but I always enjoy them when I have them.
Uh-huh.
And then another one was a promotional thing from the ice cream shop that we went to, Afters.
Mm-hmm.
They have this Rick and Morty black charcoal chocolate one. That one was delicious. My teeth were black for the rest of the night, and my mouth was green the day after, but it was delicious.
That's weird. Okay.
Because it has activated charcoal in it, and it's yeah. It's really good.
That's
I
interesting.
don't know how the charcoal affects it other than color, but it's delicious.
That's pretty cool. So you like ice cream with prizes in it, and an ice cream that changes colors in your mouth. Okay.
What about you? What's your favorite?
I mean, cookies and cream for sure, and then I think just, dude, like a good old vanilla bean, French vanilla bean or French vanilla. Like, I am perfectly content taking a spoon and putting it into straight up vanilla and just tasting the heavenly elegance of the simplicity of the vanilla flavor. So,
see, you say that, but you would also make us buy French vanilla because you didn't like regular vanilla, or you didn't like it as much.
I didn't like the cheap vanilla. That's why I say like French vanilla. Like if I go to the store and I've got a choice between vanilla, French vanilla, homemade French vanilla, and vanilla bean, I will most likely choose the homemade French vanilla or the vanilla bean rather than just like your regular old vanilla. And you can taste the difference. There's a distinct taste. It's like you can bite it and just be like, oh yeah, it's good, it's vanilla. But you can also bite into it and just be like,
We were talking in my intercultural communications class, and I brought up the fact that Stephanie thinks I'm whitewashed, and this will segue, I promise. Stephanie thinks that owning a dishwasher is a white thing because Mexican families
just have wives.
We're Mexican. Her family is, if I can describe this correctly, more Mexican than we are in the sense that they actually speak Spanish and they actually have family traditions, whereas we kind of don't, or at least not as many.
I mean, we do. I mean, it's not we don't, but
we have our family traditions, not our family line traditions.
I think
there's a difference.
Yeah.
So she was saying we have to wash our dishes. Also, we don't trust the dishwasher. It doesn't actually clean things. So we were talking about difficulties in intercultural communications during my class today. And I brought that up. And then all of the Mexicans in the class, all the girls in the class were like, yeah, we can't trust the dishwasher. We just can't. It doesn't get it clean. And all the guy Mexicans in the class were like, how would you live without a dishwasher? That's what it's made to do.
Exactly.
And then those same guys said, oh, well, all of our girlfriends refuse to. So I think, and I'm going to get gaslighted by Stephanie for this. It's just a Mexican woman thing to not trust the dishwasher. I don't think the guys care. And then I was talking to Luis about it too. He said, yeah, we wash our dishes by hand. We don't have a dishwasher. And I asked him, so does it really make me whitewash for owning a dishwasher? He's like, no, you have a dishwasher because you can afford it. So it's not because we're whitewash. It's just because we're upper middle class.
No. You're privileged. It's definitely a white privilege.
We're privileged, apparently.
Yeah.
We're white privilege even though we're Mexican.
I honestly think
that quarter of white that we get from mom. Lee.
I honestly think that for a guy, it's just a laziness thing. Like you tell a guy you can put dishes in a machine and they come out washed. I don't care if it's like, I don't care if it's 99% washed, 98% washed, or 90% washed. What we would say in the dish room.
I don't care if I can taste the steak from last night on my peanut butter and jelly sandwich I'm eating this morning.
Hold on. I'm really sorry to anybody who went to school with me and doesn't want to know this, okay? But I worked in the dish room, and you know what we would say?
You went to Masters.
Yeah. Hey, shut up. You know what we would say if we like put in a whole tray of dishes and they came out and like a little piece of lettuce was stuck on one of the dishes, we would say that lettuce is clean. So we just took it off. Everything that's on that plate is clean. We just have to rub it off or flick it off or whatever. And if it was obviously like, someone's sauce or so, obviously we put it through again. But if it was like a small item or something and it had been steamed through the heat and had gone through the washing area, all the steam and heat, temperature, all that stuff, it's clean.
To anyone who hasn't seen that commercial, they say, don't blame the dishwasher, blame the detergent. And it's mostly true.
That's true. That's true. You also have to blame the water pressure too, because I know we over at our parents' house, they had a dishwasher and they just recently replaced it. And this new dishwasher, I guess, actually does wash the dishes instead of pretends to. It's not just giving it a nice little soft, gentle rub. It's like slapping the heck out of those dishes to be clean. So the
point of that was just to just solidify the fact that yes, we're Mexican. Yes, we're proud of it most of the time, but we are spoiled. We're spoiled. We're very thankful for our parents and that they gave us not only the idea to enjoy the things that we have, but they gave us things to enjoy.
Yeah. So thankfully, we both at least know how to wash dishes though, because I don't know about you, but it's calming and it's kind of a nice calming experience to wash dishes through the actual water. What? Why are you shaking your head?
I'm in a college apartment. You should see our sink.
Well, it's different. It's different at a college apartment because your sink is in an actual kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. When I was dorming, our sink was in our bathroom. That was the only sink we had. So if we had any dishes, we had to wash it in the bathroom. So I know what it's like to have to like right after you use something, you have to wash. As much as our parents deny the fact that I did wash dishes while I was living at home, do my fair share of chores. As much as they claim I had no part in the dishwashing duties at home, I know what it's like to wash dishes right after you use them. When you only have a certain amount of dishes and you only have a bathroom to wash those dishes in. I did that for 4 years.
See, I feel like I got into a bad habit both last year and the year before because it would turn into I'd leave things to soak and then I'd wash them right before I used them. Before I used them, not after I used them. So they would sit there for 2 days max, and then I'd use them again. And that's kind of the cycle I'm in right now. But we've mostly developed some of us watch only our dishes, and some of us wash all of the dishes when we're there.
Stephanie, I hope you're paying attention.
We've already talked about the divvying up of chores should that situation ever arise. Doesn't look good for me, but yeah.
Well, all right. Hey, I have another question for you. Speaking of coffee cups and mugs and everything, you know what we got to do? We got to get ourselves a Cast Bros mug. I think that would be really cool if even if you're having an energy drink, you can take the drink and pour it into our Cast Bros mug, and if I have coffee, we can use the Cast Bros. I think that would be awesome.
For all of our 20 viewers, I told Adam that we should. There was a site that I found that does apparel, that does, they do cups, they do bottles, they do all that stuff, where we just have to give them an image and they put it on basically everything they have, and it's very easy, and he doesn't want to do it. I'm okay with waiting, but if you guys have any feedback on that, if you guys would like us to make a legitimate logo for you guys to have on apparel, mugs, etc., all 20 of you, let us know. Yeah, I would definitely be down for that.
I've always been a little weird about wearing like people's faces on my shirts. You know, like when I was young, I used to wear a shirt that had Jeremy Camp on it, and I don't know if people were like, "Oh, this is a guy weirdo wearing some guy's face on his shirt." So I don't know if we would put like our Cast Bros logo where it's both our faces. But I think it'd be cool to do a shirt or something that said like, "Take care now" in the front, and then bye then in the back.
That would be nice. I feel like that exists somewhere already, so we might have to look up that. But I have the most awkward Newsboys shirt where it has, I bought it at a concert where Michael Tate was the lead singer, but it has Peter Furler on the front. And it's just them looking at the front, and it's a big picture of them and a little thing that says Newsboys. You would never be able to tell what it was about unless you actually knew the band. It was hilarious.
It's actually really funny you mentioned that, because I'm going through a phase right now of like going back to all these bands that I listen to and looking for their merch. We talked about it in one of our episodes, but one of the best things that you can do right now to help support bands is to buy their merchandise, to go buy a t-shirt, to go buy CDs, to go buy stickers, like just go buy stuff from them so that they can get some money. And I was like, you know what? Over the years, I've like slowly transitioned my wardrobe from like Christian shirts and band shirts and church shirt stuff and like regular t-shirts to a bunch of fitness. Well, I'm just wearing a bunch of fitness stuff. It's a bunch of fitness related shirts and fitness related OCR stuff, Spartan Race t-shirts, all those things. And I'm like, dang, I grew out of all my old band shirts. I don't wear small or medium anymore. I'm wearing a large. So like, I want to go back and go find some merch and from bands that I listen to. So I'm looking around, just kind of seeing like, oh, what looks like it's kind of acceptable for me to wear while I'm training clients, or what looks acceptable to wear while I'm over at church. Like, do I want to waste money on this shirt that has Cutlass's face and their whole band on there, or do I want to find one that has like lyrics to a song or an album cover on there? What's a little too high schoolish to wear?
I still wear tees from the early 2000s to church as my regular shirt, so I think you're fine. I wouldn't worry too much about that.
I'm honestly just like, what looks adult to wear, because I don't want to get caught with some of those the emo scene, the lion is coming out of the snake and the dragon is around it with all scratchy, purpley, weird looking. Look at that. Oh, it's beautiful. Andrew's lifting up his sweater to show his Jesus freak shirt. For those of you listening, not watching, he's got a Jesus freak. What would people think if they knew that you were a Jesus freak, Andrew?
I try to make sure they know, because at this point, because if you don't know that song, that's literally the name of it, Jesus Freak by DC Talk, and that was another amazing song from our childhood, where it was, what would people think if they knew that I'm a Jesus freak? What would people do if they find that it's true? I don't really care if they label me a Jesus freak. There ain't no disguising the truth. So, like we've talked about, part of being a Christian is showing God in our lives, and it shouldn't be something that we hide.
Yeah. And I've honestly been really convicted of that lately. Totally. I went from wearing a bunch of Not of This World C28 t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
If you were around during the 2000s and Christian apparel during that time, they
closed in 2011 or 2012.
Yeah, it was Not of This World, C28, Ezekiel, Truth, Soul Armor. There's a lot of these clothing brands that put out Christian biblical messages on their t-shirts, and then out of nowhere, a lot of them just went out of business. And I don't know if that's because of, Andrew's putting up a shirt. Is that a shirt?
A sweater.
Oh, okay, he's putting out a sweater. A lot of different apparel that had a lot of very positive and biblical messages on them, and really cool graphics, really cool ideas. They were basically the hot.
We call
topic
them Christian,
of,
the Christian hot topic.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I enjoyed it. And they had really bold, positive messages. And now there just isn't that much of that out there. So I went out looking for shirts like that, and obviously bands are going to have shirts like that. There are some Christian apparel websites out there. I found one called Our Faith Tees. So I picked up a couple shirts from there. It's really funny you mentioned that, because that's something lately I've been super convicted about. Like, I am not doing enough to just like do the simplest thing, which is wearing a t-shirt that might have scripture on it, or wearing a t-shirt that has at least a positive message on it. I'm not doing the simplest of things that I used to do all the time back in the day. And there's a rapper named KB, And he's got a bunch of t-shirts. One of them has like a graphic where on the back it says God on the top, and then at the bottom it says money, wealth, fame, talent, and they're all scratched out, saying that he chooses God over all of those things. So I was like, you know what, those are messages that I want to share. Those are messages that I want to show. And so yeah, I picked up a bunch of t-shirts from Disciple and from some of those clothing companies. So I'm excited to get them and to show them off. I'll be wearing them.
So I feel like especially in apparel, I feel like that's one of the easier things for me, because I'll wear a shirt that just has NOTW on it. Or there's one I wore the other day. It's NOTW, and then it has a piece of scripture on the back. And it's just a big logo. No one knows what it means. And it starts conversation. People ask me, what does that stand for? Or, I like your shirt. And I'll tell them, it means not of this world, just as Jesus was in this world, but not of it. We are called to do the same. We are called to live in this world, but not be of it. And it starts conversation, whether it's just a passerby like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Oh, I've seen that around. What does it mean? It's thought-provoking, and it looks really cool.
Yeah. So, speaking of bands, speaking of Christian apparel,
let us know if we need to work on our segues.
I know, right? Andrew and I got flagged down by YouTube about one of our reaction videos and we knew this was a possibility of happening. We knew this was maybe something that might come up. We got away with obviously a leaked demo from Cutlass, because that has no copyright. It was just something they shared. I think we got away with the Cutlass live video because that's such an older video, and I don't even think the live album was part of the label or something. I don't know, but Skillet is a much bigger band. Skillet is much more well known, and their record label is also much more well known. And so we got flagged by Skillet's record label. Andrew, how did you respond to that?
So, I only found out because Stephanie told me that she was trying to watch the video and couldn't. So for anyone who wasn't able to watch the video at the beginning of the week, it's back now, so you can watch it with all of our reactions, with our ugly mugs on it, if you so choose. But I was worried. This is a perfect example of how me and Adam handle different situations. He's very laid back, because I was like, we got flagged by YouTube. What's going on? Did they take it down? Are we going to get doxxed? Are they going to put a strike on our account, and that's going to be an issue later on? And he's just like, I'll deal with it later.
Yeah, I was in the middle of a workout, and I was just like, I was literally in the middle of a workout. He texted me once, and oh my gosh, I know that this is something. This is why
I need to get all of our account info, because I only have some of it, so that I can deal with this if need be.
Yeah, but there's a certain kind of person who, like, if they don't get back to you right away, then you start calling them and start texting them more. So Andrew messages me and says, like, hey, they took down the video. And so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'll go check it out later. And then he's like, Stephanie can't watch it. You know, he's like, and I'm like, okay, I'll deal with it. I'm just like, I'll deal with it later. And then he calls me.
See,
and I'm like, oh, okay, he's worried. He's worried about it.
There's a difference between him thinking, oh, I'll deal with it later, and him telling me, oh, I'll deal with it later. Those are two very different things, because he just assumes I know, oh, he's going to deal with it later.
You got to trust me. You got to trust that the information has been
relayed. I have been conditioned throughout my entire life not to trust you. For this exact reason.
Kind of responsibility.
He's very laid back, and he's also the guy that's late to literally everything. So
but I get it done.
Most of the time. Most of the time.
Whereas
I am super stingy about everything. I have to be on time to everything. And anytime anyone asks me to do something, I have to get it done as quickly as possible as I can. It's just how I'm wired. I am a very anxious person, and most of it isn't under my control.
Yeah, I heard a question saying that if you could choose between being 20 minutes early to things or 10 minutes late to things, which would you choose? Obviously, Andrew would choose 20 minutes early, and I would choose 10 minutes late, because if you count up all the times that you're 20 minutes early, think of how much that's wasting time just being early to everything. You're wasting so many minutes of your life. I'd rather be 10 minutes late, and that way I can always make up time later on in the day. but I feel like being early 20 minutes is just wasting time.
See, but I would get there and then I'd use that time to relax. If I'm 20 minutes early and I don't need to be anywhere else other than where I'm at right now, I can relax, listen to music, play video on my phone.
Who out of the two of us do you think is more relaxed?
See,
Answer honestly.
on average, you, because you're just relaxed in most, if not every situation. But when I do relax, I relax. There's nothing going on in my head except for literally everything. I don't know.
That's right.
I'm,
Right.
I'm,
You're backed into a corner. I got you.
I'm one of those people that just can't stop thinking about things. But okay, my mind will be anxious, but my body will be completely relaxed. I can at least say that.
Well, Andrew notified me that they took down the video, and I'm like, there's got to be a way around this. I'll figure it out. No worries. We watched some videos. I pulled some strings, and I think within like 48 hours, the video is back up, right?
Of me telling you, yeah.
Yeah, so we basically just told them, hey, it's a reaction video. We're not trying to steal the rights. We're not trying to make money off of it or anything. We just wanted to do the reaction and include it in our podcast, and boom, we got it going. So we can't promise that that's going to be the case for everything, but we can at least promise that we will dispute any of those things so that you can continue watching our reaction videos and so that we can keep sharing music with you. Just like we want to do right now. There are a lot of new songs and a lot of new music that are coming out during
especially because of COVID. People are having more time to put that stuff together.
Yeah, and one of those bands that actually we haven't heard a lot from in a long time is 9 Lashes. Okay, this is a band that's not necessarily part of the old guard of Christian rock bands because it's not like TFK, Cutlass, Switchfoot, or any of those older bands. They're relatively new. I would maybe put them along the same lines as, like, I don't know, Decipher Down, Seventh Day Slumber in
terms of popularity, probably, yeah.
Yeah, like they're not.
I think I saw them at a concert where it was 9 Lashes and Seventh Day Slumber. So yeah.
And they run in those circles a lot. Like they're not the most popular band, but they're also still very well known. They're a very unique style of music that blends rock, a little bit of screaming, but really, really great riffs, really great messages. And so they put out 2 really good albums, and everybody was really excited about the direction of the band. And then their 3rd album actually ended up being a worship album. It leaned a little bit more towards the worship side. I actually found out through the iChristian Rock and Christian Rock X guys from the Fuel the Fire podcast. I found out that the record label actually encouraged them to put out this worship album, and their answer to that was not like actual worship songs. So they're not like, acoustic guitar, reverb everywhere kind of worship, but it is with the intent of it being a worship album. So if you look at it,
what Christian rock is.
Yeah. If you look at it from that perspective, it's a really good album. But as far as all of the diehard fans of the band, it just was not the same thing at all. It was kind of like finding out that Cutlass was going to be a completely worship band for a couple of albums, and then being like, but that's not who Cutlass is. That's not how we thought they were going to be. So 9 Lashes came out their 3rd album, and I think they just got a lot of negative feedback from it, and a lot of people just did not like that that's the direction that they took for the 3rd album, and they went dark. Like, we didn't hear nothing from them for years. And I guess they were planning on putting out new music. They were making music, but nothing like actually came of it yet. And then during quarantine, we got some noise. We got some word that they were going to come out with a couple of new singles. And so they put out, so far, I think they put out 4 singles, and we want to show one of them to you now. I have waited to listen to this song. Andrew has waited to listen to this song. You are getting the fresh reaction from us right here, right now.
So it's not be us reminiscing about days of yore. It's not going to be us thinking about, oh, the fond memories that we've had of this. No, this is going to be our genuine first reaction to this. It's going to be objective as we can. And I do believe we'll enjoy it.
Yes. Okay,
we hope
so
you do too.
Here it is. Ooh, I like that intro. I like it. Got some strings. This intro reminds me of Mean What You Say by Sent by Ravens.
I've only heard so many of their songs. Oh, wow.
Love that. Ooh, I love that choppy guitar. I love that
getting
choppy
some red
guitar.
vibes. Some red vibes from here.
I used to carry my own misery, crushed by the weight as it tried to kill me.
Woo!
I thought that I could mend my broken heart, but nothing I did would stop the bleeding.
Oh, just those first couple of lines, so good. I should mention that these new singles, and we'll probably go back and listen to some of the older songs, the releases they put out. So faith based, so blatantly faith based and biblically based that it really does make you think about your own relationship with Christ. What did he say in that last line? I used to carry my own misery. I used to try to mend my own broken heart. I used to try to do this on my own. Ooh.
We can already infer what the rest of the song has in store, where it's going to be about, I tried to fix it myself. I tried to make myself better. Didn't work. But you can still fix it.
All right, let's keep listening. Ooh, so far so good, man.
It was not just another phase. There was something wrong with me, and it feels like the weight of the world has been taken away with the hurt. And you show me where I belong, so I'll follow you home.
Ooh, I like that.
Wow. So
So
I
powerful, so
simultaneously-
awesome.
So immediately after saying it, I tried to fix it. I failed, but you can still fix me. God can still fix me, and I'll follow you home, a real home.
Yeah, and it's
Not
even
this
cool
world.
to see how he's saying again, I was carrying my own misery. I was trying to mend my broken heart. It was not just a phase. There was something wrong with me. I get this image of I was trying to fit a square into a hole, or trying to squid a square peg into a hole. I just do not belong in this mindset or this place. And you have shown me where I belong. You have shown me that I'm supposed to be going home with you. I'm supposed to follow you and not my own thoughts or my own, misery that I've been doing. So it's so far so
And
good.
I was going
man.
to say too, this sounds like another one of the songs that we talked about during the Skillet reaction video, where it was songs that could relate to adolescence, songs that would get their attention, where you can listen to it even without knowing the message and it's still really good. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, crap, but today's kids listen to mumble rap.
Yeah, well,
But yeah, I'm totally getting a red vibe for if at the very least I want to say my generation, the very beginning of the Gen Zs would still really appreciate this, I think.
oh yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Time after time I'd lie awake at night, wondering why he never came around.
before we get to the bridge, which I'm sure is going to be just as epic as what we just listened to, I got to say that these lyrics are so relatable. This is exactly what we were asking for in the other podcast. Like, this is where Christian music needs to go. It needs to be real about saying that, like, lying awake at night, this isn't a phase. There was something actually wrong with me. The memories will still be there. That line about wondering why he never came around, but realizing that God has given me breath and shown me the way out. I see that as saying that Christ isn't the one who needs to come around to me, but I need to find my way out of what I'm going through, and God needs to show me that way out so that I can get to him.
Absolutely. And then just it's so genuine in the message that it's sending. It's not like you were talking about before, I'm going to live every day for God, but that's a lie because we don't. This is talking about how I'm hurting. There's something wrong with me. My sin is wrong with me. My own head is wrong with me. And I need God to make me better. I need God to show me the way out. I need God to to put me in the mindset that I can be better, that he can take this hurt away, that he can cleanse me of my sins, take away the thing that's wrong with me.
And I love that he says even that the memories won't fade. It's not that like the memories are going to fade at all, but at least I'm at a better place now. At least I'm following Christ now and going home, Whew, okay. Let's go into that bridge. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
This is going to be awesome. I just all around loving the music.
Where I belong, so I'll follow you home. When the thoughts keep me up at night, when I feel so alone inside,
I was not expecting it to go slower.
lost with the fading light, I will follow you home. When I feel like I have no control, when I'm faced with what I'll never know, when the questions will not let me go, there is nothing wrong with me, and it feels like the weight of the world has been taken away with the hurt, and you show me where I belong, so I'll follow you home.
Woo! So good.
And then that again, the message of now that God has taken away that hurt, now that God has taken away what's wrong with me, I feel whole. I feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I feel like I am better now because of how God moves in my heart and in my mind, into my body.
Ooh, did you hear that last bit right there? I got to play that again. Hold on. I got to play that one again. Oh. Woo. Oh, man. Oh, gosh. That was such a good song. That was
I'm very excited.
such a good song. Hey, you haven't even heard some of the other songs, so I'm excited for you to hear those too. But I just got to go back to that bridge real quick, because these are so powerful of lyrics that again, I think this is exactly where Christian music needs to go. When the thoughts keep me up at night, when I feel so alone inside, when I'm lost with a fading light, I will follow you home. I think this is like resolved. Like, I am resolved that even if my thoughts keep me up at night, and even if I feel so alone inside, and even if I'm lost with a fading light, like, we're called to follow God's word as a light unto our path, right? And even though sometimes that light may feel like it's fading, I am still resolved to follow you. And then that second line says that when I feel like I have no control, And when I'm faced with what I'll never know, isn't that it? And just right there, like, there's so many things we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what's going to happen when we die, when we live. We don't know what's happening in the world around us. When we're faced with what we don't, with what I'll never know, and when the questions will not let me go. When the questions will not let me go, and then they say there is nothing wrong with me. I think that that's a powerful line too, because he's saying that all of these things are normal. All of those things are normal. Like,
especially as it relates to people today, because there are so many people, my generation, Adam's generation, the millennials, Gen Zs, we're very anxious people. We don't know what's coming up next.
yeah.
2020 happens.
Woo!
I have no clue what 2021 has in store for us. There's just so many non-variables that we don't know what's going to happen in our future. Everything is so uncertain, especially in times like right now. But it's still normal to have those thoughts. But above all else, we still have to just trust God. That no matter what happens in the future, he's still in control.
Yeah, and contrast that with the beginning where he's saying that I used to carry my own misery, crushed by the weight as it tried to kill me, and I thought that I could mend my own broken heart, but nothing I did would stop the bleeding. And it was not just another phase. There was something wrong with me, like trying to work on myself and not that that's bad, but trying to fix myself and think that I could be perfect. Like, no. There's a sin problem. Something is wrong with me. I am not going to lead myself out of that sin problem. Right? I think that's what those lines are speaking to. I am not going to lead myself out of my own sin problem. I need to follow Christ. I need to follow God's word to help me out of that sin problem, to help me find my way out of that sin problem. And he says in the chorus, it feels like the weight of the world has been taken away with the hurt, and you've shown me where I belong, so I'll follow you home. Contrast that with what he says in the bridge, where he's saying, like, it's wrong to think that we can fix ourselves. We need to follow after Christ, but thoughts that keep you up at night, feeling alone inside, feeling like the light is fading, feeling like you have no control, being faced with things that you'll never know, questions that will not those are all normal. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't have to have all the answers. You're not going to have all the answers. There is nothing wrong with you if you feel that way. But
9 lashes, if this gets to you and we are dead wrong, please let us know.
Yeah, if we're dead wrong about this, please let us know. But to feel those feelings, there's nothing wrong with you. But in the midst of those feelings, you should be resolved to follow Christ. Woo! That is exactly the kind of message that we need in freaking 2020, man. I love that song, and the song itself is so awesome. Like the background synth effects, kind of just rolling through rolling through the whole song was great. I think that when a band uses that and uses that in the right way, it really does make the song feel like it's got some aggression to it. It's going somewhere, and I am a sucker for what did I say? Choppy guitars. I'm a sucker for choppy guitars, like that Disciple Memphis Mayfire sound, where it's not just like da 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 da, but it's like chung cha chung cha chung cha cha, like like it cuts. It's got that high end to it. Like, I love that. So they added that in there, as opposed to like Red. You mentioned Red. Red doesn't really have choppy guitars. It's not a staccato-y kind of guitar. It's very blended. It's very bassy. There's a deepness to the guitar sound in Red's music, but overall, the genre itself, it does sound very Red. So yeah, great song, great message. 9 Lashes is coming back better than they ever have been before, and yeah, I'm really excited to hear what new songs they have. And I think their whole set list leaked on Genius Lyrics or something. So yeah, so they're coming out with an 11-song album. It'll be songs like Breaking Out, Awakening, this song that we listened to, Follow, a song called Shadows, which has been released, Within My Soul, which has not been released, Dear Self, great song that was released a little while ago, Shine, Dying to Breathe, To Your Grave, Guilty Hands, and Rise. So we're getting some, I think we're getting a great album.
A lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
A lot to look forward to.
A lot to look forward to. And honestly, like I said, you know, I am excited for music in 2021. We need real music with real topics about some real things that have gone down in people's lives. And I think that the Christian music industry has had a lot of like great songs that are very, you know, politically correct or what would churchically correct? Church politically correct? I don't know. Well, like we said before, the mountains and the seas and the stars and the.
My church used to have 2 services, and we called it. We have basically two sanctuaries, and one of them actually looks like a sanctuary, and one of them looks more like a concert hall. And we would have, this is for the praise and worship, this is for the hymns, and this is where we play Christian rock. And it was where all of the early 20s and under, like high school kids would go to service, and this is where the silver service was. And we have this joke in our family, we call it the silver service, because this is where the silver-haired people go to
would
service.
congregate.
It's normally the earliest of the services, but yeah, that's the division that we see with all that. But yeah, it's the separation of, these are good songs, they have really good messages, but it's not what's acceptable to hear.
Yeah, and especially right now, 2020, like we know people don't have their stuff together. Like we know people are anxious. We know people are at home in quarantine with their demons, you know. There's even some news that came out. I found this out from John Cooper's podcast, Cooper Stuff. But I guess one of the Hillsong pastors was fired from his position because of moral failure. Okay, which that's how they put it out, that the reason was moral failure, and it came out later on that it was because of an extramarital affair that was going on. And I do have a little bit of detail on that one. It was, his name is 42-year-old Carl Lentz. He was the pastor over at Hillsong, New York. And yeah, extramarital affair during quarantine. I guess the woman who he had an affair with was on record saying that he was like a drug to me and I was a drug to him. And during this time when this had come out, I guess a lot of Christians were trying to back him up and say, look, he's just a human being just like everybody else. Everybody is addicted to something. Like, you can't knock him for having this kind of sin. He's just a man, like all these things. But when you look at the world and how the world is reacting to this, they're like, look, hypocrisy in the church. Look, people who are preaching things and not doing it. And
this is why the church cannot escape politics, because while, yes, we agree, everyone is a sinner. We, as Christians, that's one of our core beliefs, that we are all sinners and we all need God. But whereas, like we said in a past podcast, we hate the sin, not the sinner. I would not hate that man for having committed the sin. I hate the sin that he committed. He's still a person. He's still a child of God if he so chooses to be a child of God. But because he is part of a church that is so central in the view of non-believers, because they're huge.
They're huge. Hillsong United, Hillsong, like all the name Hillsong, that would be like Cornerstone or Greg Laurie's church. I think Greg Laurie's church is Cornerstone.
Somewhere like that.
That would be like Greg Laurie announcing that he had some sort of moral failure or something. What would the world think about that? Like, all of the Harvest
Crusades. And that's what they have to take into account. They have to take into account not necessarily what our people think about him, but what is the world going to see? And that's bittersweet, because how the world sees the church, that influences whether or not more people come to Christ, whether or not they're more open to accepting Christ. If they see, oh, well, these people are this way, this is how they react when someone does this kind of thing, at least they condemn it. But it's bittersweet, because that's also not the message that we have for people. We don't have the message of, well, you messed up, so you're out.
Yeah.
No, we're all sinners. We all continuously sin, whether
Yeah.
whether it's a conscious thought or not, but often it is. And we have to know that we need God, we need Christ.
Yeah, and
in
at the
order
same
to
time,
get away from that.
And at the same time, the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why I think it's getting so much news within the Christian community and outside of the Christian community, is because I don't think any person, I don't think any human being likes to see hypocrisy, right? No. When we see someone preaching one thing and then doing something else, I think inside of us, we want to call it out. Like we want to say, look, like you're not doing what you're saying. And I think that as Christians, we think that because one Christian is involved in a moral failure, sexual sin, or something, just because one Christian is involved in that, we somehow have to defend that person like we're defending our faith. And I don't believe that that's what we're called to do, because at the same time, we are called to give everybody grace. Like this pastor, I would give him grace. That's, and I hope God gives him grace, and I hope that he still follows after God and keeps his faith in Christ, and that he still devotes his life to trying to be a redeemed and reconciled example of what it means to be given forgiveness and grace from God with his life.
We hope that God works in his life so that doesn't happen again, so that he doesn't fall back into that sin, that he doesn't fall into that addiction.
Exactly. But do I think that he shouldn't have consequences? And do I think that he should continue to be a pastor since he's struggling with this and continue to have the influence over a congregation the way that he does now? No. I think he does need consequences. I think that the Bible explains it very clearly, that if you're going to be a leader of other believers, that you need to be above reproach. Like, no one can say anything bad about you. The Bible doesn't say that you're perfect. The Bible doesn't say that you need to be sinless, because that's never going to happen. But it does at least say that you need to be above reproach. And if you are not above reproach and you have a sin that disqualifies you from being above reproach, then you should allow someone else to take on that position. Allow someone else who is living in victory of their sins, of their past sins, who has repented and has moved forward, has been tested and is trusted by their people, by the congregation to lead them, then they should take that position and not you. You've got stuff you need to work on. You've got a path of reconciliation that you need to get on. Does that mean that he will never be a pastor again? No, I don't think so. I think he's got a path of redemption in front of him, but that at least means that there does need to be some consequences, because the outside world even knows that's bad. Like, that's wrong. People should be upset when they see hypocrisy happen. And one thing that John Cooper brought up is that, honestly, we are all called to be holy. Like, we're all called to be as Christ-like as possible. And everybody is on different parts of that journey. Everybody is dealing with something different. Everybody has certain sins that God has led them through, and everybody has certain sins that God is leading them through now. But we do have, Scripture even says, we do have the ability to live a life with victory over sin, with victory over those addictions. We can repent and not commit that sin again. Again, does that mean we're perfect and we're sinless? No, we're still going to sin. But that does mean that, hey, I can overcome this drinking addiction. I can overcome this sex addiction. I can overcome this pornography addiction. I can overcome this anger addiction, this anxiousness that I feel. I can overcome it. Those are messages that are that I think, or hey, I can overcome this racist, this racist feeling that I have. These are messages that for some reason a generation of Christians just don't believe that you will ever get out of it. Like, you can just continue on in your sin, you can continue on in your addiction and just follow after Christ and somehow still cling to your sin and cling to Christ at the same time. And that is not what the Bible teaches.
This is something we talked about in an earlier podcast, where how do you identify? Do you identify with your addiction? Like Adam was saying, do you choose to continue in your life of sin, but say that you follow Christ? When we were talking about, if we talk about people who are addicted to drugs, if they continue to do drugs and they say, well, I go to church, I believe in Christ, but you're continuing in that addiction and you're choosing to hold that identity, identity of being an addict, that identity of continually taking part in that sin over your identity as a Christian, then you're not really a Christian. And it's not a matter of, well, I can say you're not really one just because you sin. Well, he's not a real Christian. No, it's a matter of, where do you hold your value? Where do you identify, or where do you hold your identity? Do you hold it with Christ first above everything else? And if so, you're a Christian. And if you don't, and you choose to continually sin, and again, it's the choice. You choose to continuously put your heart into something else, use something else to fill that emptiness inside of you over Christ. That is when, that's when it's an issue.
And honestly, like, there are adults, okay, who deal with their sins, like getting drunk and or cheating or looking lustfully at other women or gambling or falling into sins like that. And for you younger people, hey, it may not be as bad as those things, but if you're addicted to playing video games, if you're addicted to pornography, if you're addicted to lying, if you're addicted to always stealing and deciding not to tell the truth and to make yourself out to look better than you are, to try to be cool, if your pride is an addiction to you, like, those are things that start off really small and end up becoming bigger as you get older. And the Bible teaches that if you put those things off, if you put off the old self and put on the new self, the Holy Spirit, the new man that is inside of you, that you can have victory over those sins. You have to follow Christ, like the Nine Lashes song says, and you have to follow Christ. You have to read his word to know what he teaches, and you have to have the discipline to follow after. To be a disciple of Christ, you need to have discipline and actually want to align your life with what the Bible teaches. And when you do that, you are now becoming conformed to Christ instead of being conformed to your own will and to the world.
Well, I think it's also important to distinguish the fact that it's not, and this is a common misconception about Christianity, you don't work for salvation. You don't. It's a gift. You display your salvation through your works, but it's a matter of, I don't have to be completely sinless in order to be a Christian. But if I choose to put God above everything else, if I choose to put my faith in Christ above everything else, if I choose to accept that salvation, then everything else will follow after. It won't be, I have to work hard to get there. It'll be my salvation, God's love for me, and everything that he is using me to be a light into this world. Everything else will just follow after. I was having a conversation with one of my good friends who tells me all the time, well, you're a good person. You always give great advice. And I feel like you're always there for us. You're always there for the people you care about. I'm like, that's God working through me. Everything great that I see in myself, that other people see in me, that's God working through me. I honestly believe that. Everything great about me is God working through me.
And I'll tell you right now, Andrew's not perfect.
Nope.
Andrew's far from perfect. But
and the distinction is those parts that I don't like about myself, the parts that I'm sure a lot of people don't like about me, that's me. And that's my sinful self. That is my flesh. And that is still a problem that I have. But everything great about me comes from God.
Yeah. And like Andrew's saying, yeah, you're never going to be perfect, and God will always give you grace for those times, but you still do need to actually be on the path of following him. You can't just take a detour and choose to follow after sins and expect to be still glorifying God with that life. Now, can God still use you? Absolutely. But if you want to actually proactively be used by God and make yourself an instrument of righteousness, the Bible tells you how to do that by following his word and by reading it and having discipline. And you know, to what you were saying, yeah, Andrew's not perfect. Andrew, and I think I can say this, struggles a little bit with anxiety, right? Struggles a little bit with anxiety. But if Andrew was always a victim of that anxiety, if he was always just saying like, look, I've just always been put in anxious circumstances, I'm just always going to be anxious, that's just who I am, I'm making my anxiety my identity, that is a victim. That's victimology, right? That's a new 2020 word, I guess. That's victimology. You are seeing the world through being a victim, and you will never have victory over your sin or victory over that circumstance because you don't believe that God is big enough to lead you through that anxiety. And that is wrong. You should always believe that no matter what, God can lead you through and out of those circumstances, or or maybe not even, maybe God might never take you out of anxious moments. He'll never erase anxious circumstances or anxiety filling moments, or he'll never take those things out of your life, but he will always be there to provide you a way out of that anxiety. And I think that is something that we're losing as a Christian generation, is that I think kids feel like they can just sit in their anxiety or sit in their sin, sit in their pride, sit in their anger, sit in whatever, you know, filled in the box with whatever you want. They can sit in those things and still follow after God, thinking that everything's okay, everything's all right. No, like the song says, there is something wrong with you. You've got a sin problem. You're not giving it to God. You're not rejoicing always. You're not keeping your path on the straight and narrow. You're not conforming yourself to God's will. You're just sitting in your victimology. And I don't want to be insensitive. Some people are going through a lot of crap. Like, some people are actually in anxious moments, and being anxious is a completely normal response. You know, I'm not saying that.
Like Adam said, I have a problem with anxiety, but when it comes down to it, when it comes down to a point where I need to put that aside and do something that God is calling me to do, when someone comes, like I was saying, people tell me that I give good advice, that I'm always there for the people who need me. If someone comes to me and God puts it in my heart to help them, it doesn't matter what else I'm thinking about. It doesn't matter what anxieties I have. It doesn't matter what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, what assignments coming up. All of the things that run through my head constantly go away for me to do what God calls me to do. It goes away long enough for me to enjoy the moments I have with my family, to enjoy the moments that God wants me to enjoy, to be there for the people who need me to be there for them. When it comes to God using us to fulfill his will, he always gives us the tools. He always gives us the power to overcome.
Yeah. But you have to seek it out. Mm-hmm. The Bible says that no temptation, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, you probably know this verse better than I do, but that God will test us, but he will not tempt us beyond what we can handle. And it doesn't stop there. It doesn't say that you will not be faced with something that you in your own strength can't handle. That's not what the Bible says. He says that he will not tempt you beyond something that you can handle, but will always provide you a way of escape. He will always provide you a way out of being tempted. So that means that if you are in a circumstance where you're being tempted to feel anxious, or tempted to steal, or tempted to lie, tempted to be angry, tempted to lose your self-control, tempted to sin, basically, to not trust God, you should be looking for a way out of that. And God will provide you a way out of that. And that is the way that you should go. But you still have to look for it. Sin. Yeah, you still have to look for it. Not sitting in your sin, or not sitting in your anxiety, sitting in your anger, sitting in your lying and cheating and stealing, or whatever you're doing. But finding that way of escape and walking in that direction, looking for it. Where is that way of escape? You have to proactively look for it, and God will provide it. And that guy, Carl, did not look for that way of escape. He did not look for the way of escape, or maybe he did, and he just fell short. But I think someone who's in that kind of position and that kind of influence and leadership respectfully should step down and hand that position off to someone else who has had victory over those kind of sins, or doesn't have the same temptation or struggles with those kind of sins, so that they can be able to effectively lead. And honestly, when it comes to leading a congregation as a pastor, I feel like it's not about being the right person, or even being the one who is able to put the right things into the mix of being. It's someone who can actually get all of the other things out of the way. I think it's about someone who can take away distractions and get to the roots of the issues, and not be someone who draws attention to themselves, but draws attention to God's word. I think that's the kind of person to be put in those positions. And obviously this guy has got a lot of attention on him for the wrong reasons, and because of that, it can be a distraction to people following after Christ and learning
The people
His word.
who might be looking for a way to follow Christ, who might be looking for, well, maybe I'll go to this church, maybe I'll go speak to this pastor, maybe I'll go hear what he has to say, and then to find that out,
Right.
and for it to just ruin any view that they might have had about the church.
Right. So, yeah, hopefully we learn from this kind of situation. And honestly, it's not something that we haven't seen before. I think I've mentioned in other episodes, Steve Fee was someone who was involved in extramarital affair, and I think that he was able to redeem himself out of that situation, find some reconciliation with the church, and God has led him through that. Not that there was any affairs involved, but I know Aaron Gillespie was someone I really, really looked up to growing up, and he ended up having a divorce with his wife and fell away from the faith, or at least the faith as is the Bible describes it. He believes that there is a God, but it's not the God of the Bible. The singer of Hawk Nelson, the singer of Relient K, having gone through what he went through with his fiance, we are imperfect people, sin is going to be there in our lives. But when it does creep up, and when we do lose that battle, the answer is not to double down and say, but I'm just human, I'm a victim because of this sin nature, and I'm, you don't understand my circumstances, you don't understand how I was raised, you don't understand how hard it was for me to hold on for as long as I did. And I was like, no. Our standard is holiness, and God does give us grace, but we are supposed to follow Him and be a disciple of Christ and of the Bible that He has given us, His word. And so when we fall short, which we will, but when we fall short, our answer should always be to confess, repent, and get back on track to following a life that glorifies God and being used as an instrument of righteousness in that way. And we need to be real about the confession, be real about what we did wrong, admit it, and then be real about the fact that we can repent and have victory over those sins, that Christ is powerful enough in our lives to be able to change our hearts and be a better vessel for Him to use for His glory.
Like I said, it comes down to accepting the gift, and everything else will follow after. If you are honest in your own heart about giving up your life to Christ, about putting everything on the table for Him to take from you, the pain, the stress, the anxiety, the addiction, the sin.
Yeah.
If you are honest about it, everything else will follow. But you still have to decide. You still have to choose to show that love through yourself, to show God's love through you. And this might be a little corny, but this is actually for the older listeners of our channel. There was a show called Greatest American Hero. and this is I'll get to the segue real quick. The guy wore a suit, gave him abilities that nobody else had, but it would only work if it wasn't covered. He would wear clothes over it, and he would get confused. Why isn't it working? I'm wearing the suit, but he wasn't showing it. You couldn't see the colors, you couldn't see the symbol, and it wouldn't work unless he showed it. And that's how our faith works. And it's, if you try to cover it up, if you say I'm a Christian, and then throughout the rest of your week you cover it up, you hide yourself, you choose not to wear the shirt with the scripture on it, and you choose to go specifically with the workout shirt just because you want to be on the safe side, choosing to not display that or trying to hide it, that's not how this works. You have to still want to show it. You have to make the choice to display Christ's love in your life, and everything else will follow.
Woo! Preach it. Preach it. Well, speaking of covering things up and choosing to display things, the 2020 elections came to a close on November 6th or 7th or 10th, or not quite yet, right?
This is the real reason we skipped a week of the podcast. We wanted to do one as soon as they announced the winner, but then even then we decided not to. We were hoping to cover it right after, but it took so long. And even by the time this comes out, there still probably won't be a set decision on it because of all the lawsuits, because of all the fraudulent vote counts that have been coming out. There was a Twitter feed of a Democrat counter in a Republican state videotaping himself ripping up votes for Trump.
Whoa.
And there was another one where in Michigan, the director of something, I forgot. I saw the clip, I read the article, forgot her name and her position. So really bad about that. But you can look it up. It's all over the place right now, where she said the software in one of their voting offices in Michigan malfunctioned and counted counted a whole bunch of votes for Trump for Biden. And they found out that
6,000 votes that were supposed to go to Trump went to Biden
in that one voting office. And they said that a whole bunch of their other counties used the same software that may have had the same glitch. So now they all have to double check.
Yeah, before you start talking about your conspiracy theories there, Andrew, let's go back to November 3rd, the election night. Where were you? What were you doing? And how did you react to what was going on that night?
I was driving home that Tuesday. I was on my way, or not driving home, driving back to school. I had just finished my Zoom class, packed up my car, and was driving back. My buddies were on a Discord channel counting or watching them count the votes. I was doing my best not to pay attention because I wanted to make it there without my brain telling me to crash the car. But no, I made it back. I checked what the counts were. And at the time that I checked, Trump was winning.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Trump was winning probably most of the night. And I would even say, like, I don't know exactly when things were going for Biden, but I would say it was close to midnight, really. Like between 10 and midnight, Trump was in the lead. Even in like the popular votes, he was in the lead. Mm-hmm. I was at the gym. And we had the TV on, and they were showing all of the states and all the different percentages and the popular vote. I wasn't really sure who to watch, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, I wasn't really sure who to land on. I think we ended up watching like just the TV news, how certain TVs have their
I started
version
watching
of C-SPAN or something.
Yeah, I started watching the Steven Crowder podcasts, and then I had muted. I had one of the news channels running live on my computer while I was doing my homework for that night.
Yeah, I wanted to watch. Steven Crowder is very entertaining. He's a little mean, and he's a little out there, a little extreme. But like Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro, they were giving some good commentary to the night as there was more votes being counted, but at the same time they weren't giving all of the information. And so I really wanted to know, like, where were the votes, what was the status of the votes in every state. And so the news, unfortunately the news and online are the best places to find that information. So yeah, that's where I was.
I wasn't actually
TV.
watching Ben Shapiro the night of. I was watching Ben Shapiro leading up to, and it was a total 180 from how we talked about Trump during the initial 2016 election, where he said, now that I know what Trump did, would I have voted for him back then? Yes, because of all the policies that he's done up until this point. And I don't know if you're on his podcast, if you've seen that or his show.
Mm-hmm.
It's very informative, and that's what I was watching leading up to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seemed like Steven Crowder was just making a comedy thing out of it. That's what he does. He's an entertainer. Appreciate it. But yeah, it was mostly just I Googled election results, and it was a live update from Associated Press.
Okay. Yeah. And Associated Press was really giving out all of the information to all of the news stations, and that's what they were regurgitating from them. So the night ends, and we know, hey, these states are. We figured we weren't going to get an answer that night, but we were all hoping, maybe he wins Florida. Arizona got called super early by Fox News, which is very weird. Got called for Biden.
Save me. I'm in a blue state now. Save me. They legalized weed over here. Save me.
Hey, at least you're not in Oregon where you can get away with any drug,
All the memes that it's like Oregon legalized possession of any drug, Arizona, or a bunch of states are weed legal now. And people are saying, I'd like to congratulate drugs on winning the war on drugs.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's basically what happened.
I was telling people to it's not going to be impolite to ask now, what is that guy on? It's going to be very commonplace to say that guy's on something. But yeah, anyways, so we go to sleep November 3rd and we wake up on November 4th, and what happens? What happens, Andrew? Votes.
Biden shoots up.
Votes. They come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
They come out of nowhere. Voting.
There's one in particular in Michigan where it's a meme on how quickly Biden caught up, where it was a huge stack of votes just for him. None of them were for Trump. And it's like, is it okay if I cheat on your test? Okay, just don't make it look obvious.
Yeah, these votes, and I don't know how the voting counting system works. I'm not educated on the ins and outs of how all this stuff goes, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it's supposed to look. And then not only that, but didn't they say they were going to stop counting votes at a certain time and then start counting votes again at a certain time? And these updates were in the middle of the night. Like, hello? That's not suspicioso to you? That's suspicioso to me.
There was also a video I was seeing at the last hour before some of the polling places were closing. People were walking into voting polls or voting places with bags.
Right.
Backpacks, duffel bags. Nobody checked them. Nobody stopped them. Nobody did nothing.
Yeah.
But
and on it. So anything we say from now on, okay. Yes, you will take as conspiracy theory, and we know this. Yeah. Okay, anything we say from now on, we know you're just gonna be it's crazy talk, conspiracy theory. People,
and I'm only saying it for you guys to look for it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it as fact. I'm not saying it as this is what I believe. I'm saying because it was out there. So if you guys want to go look for it,
these are the things alleged. These are the things alleged, and there happens to be video confirmation of these alleged things, but then can you confirm the video? Was it staged? Was it not staged? Were those mock votes, or were they actual ballots? You know, who knows? That's for the people in the courts to prove, not us. But at the same time, it raises suspicion. Not only that, but a lot of these states where you knew like Biden was going to get a lot of votes from the mail-in balloting. But I don't know about you, but a lot of people I talked to on the Republican side also handed in a lot of mail-in ballots. Like a lot of Republicans did ballots by mail, even though a lot didn't. A lot still did, you know. And there were a lot of
me, mom, and dad did.
Yeah, and like there were still a lot of Democrats even who were going to vote for Trump, who had said they're still going to do the mail-in balloting. So it is very suspicious that now once the mail-in ballots come in, you are seeing things like things just fall into place so well for Biden to end up winning those states, so where it's so close, you know, and it just falls into place so well that, oh, now we're waiting these days, couple days. And then right when Saturday hits, which is just weird, Saturday when, you know, everyone's out able to go party, you know, they make the announcement that Biden ends up winning.
I also think it's very suspicious how many people were saying, oh, well, when Trump won, it was because of Russia. There was voter fraud. He only got those votes because people were messing with the system.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, when Biden's winning and he's claiming fraud, he's saying, oh, it's so rare for the election to get rigged. It is so rare for there to be any kind of voter fraud.
It's impossible.
And there's people who are dead. There's people who are dead who are voting in the election, who are being registered as voters in this election. People who are dead, people who are too young to vote, people where they're not checking identifications at the door,
or they don't live there. Places. They can't vote there because they don't live there.
Or they don't live there.
Yeah, and again, let's bring this back to earth. We're not saying these things are factual, or that some actually it is factual that some dead people have voted. That is a fact. Some people have done that. But
Grandpa Ralph, our grandfather, received a ballot.
Yeah, that's weird.
He's been dead for a few years now, and he received a mail ballot.
Yeah. So there is definitely a possibility of voter irregularities and glitches, and I guess we can't say outright fraud because then we sound like crazy people, and we can't prove it. And it's not for us to prove, really. So, nope. But the announcement was made.
Pointing out the fact that it went from. I'm just pointing out the fact that it went from, well, it had to be fraud, it had to be this. Oh yeah, that never happens. That's the point I was trying to make.
I was equally like calling BS on that. You're gonna claim that all these different countries from other places are somehow switching votes and somehow affecting the voting count and balloting counting and everything, and then all of a sudden it's impossible. All of a sudden, it would take a widespread conspiracy to think that that's even possible of happening. There's no way, no way that could possibly happen. Okay, sure. Let's go with that one.
This is causing so much division on social media with people who we never talk to anymore. I made a post about, and it wasn't even.
Well, wait. Before you even get there,
I was just stating a fact. I wasn't making. Okay.
Yeah, before you get there, Biden gets announced as the winner, right? Biden gets announced as the winner. All the news medias regurgitate it, so Biden is now declared president-elect, which they should be saying is still the projected because there's still the Electoral College vote that needs to go down in December, and it needs to be certified, and you can bet your bottom dollar that all of these states that are within 0.5, within even 5%, that Trump has already gone, has brought these to the courts and has provided some of the evidence that there was irregularities. So some of these deceased Americans who somehow were able to vote, the glitches that were happening, these videos that we were saying of people walking in without a clearance. There was even an instance in Pennsylvania where they said that the voter examiners could not like actually see and examine the votes, the ballots, And so they put a court order to move closer, 6 feet closer, and that when they did that, they moved the ballot counting 10 feet back and to try to combat that motion. And so they really could not examine. These are all things alleged. I obviously haven't seen it. I don't. This is all just what's going down and what they're bringing to the court. So obviously it's not done because it is going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to give a ruling, and it's either going to show that a certain number of ballots were should not be counted, should not be admissible because either they had irregularities, they were illegal, or tampered with, or whatever. You know, we don't know the details about that. It's not for us to prove, it's for them to prove. And then from there, we'll find out if things were significant enough to actually change the results of the election. But it's not over yet. And even, you know, that's only for Pennsylvania. That's going to be done in probably Georgia, probably Wisconsin, probably Arizona, which is now 0.5 difference. You know, even though Fox called it like the first night, it's 0.5 difference now. So it's not over. And yet, the country is celebrating Biden's victory as president, okay? And they're celebrating like Trump is gone. Like Trump isn't going to be in the White House for the next 3 months. They're celebrating like it's done, like he's gone, like there's no more Trump.
The same thing they did when he was impeached, when they thought that's all was.
And I've explained this to people, like
that just was how uneducated people are about the presidency and what that implies.
Yeah, and it would be one thing, and I've said this to a couple people, it would be one thing if people just celebrated the victory in the voting count, right? Like, hey, we won the count, we've got the majority, and we can get the electoral votes. You know, yeah, Trump is trying to bring these to the courts, but you know what? We've got the numbers, and I have faith in our system, and I have faith that what we did was the right thing, and that our party did the right thing, and so I think we're going to win. If it was just that, I'd be fine with that. Like, that's cool, because we don't know if Trump's court cases are actually going to change the results of the election. Biden could still 100% win, and we will have to accept him as our president, and we will do that here on the Cast Bros podcast. Okay.
Absolutely. Because, we want to make the point that it doesn't matter. Of course, we have the person we would prefer to win, but when it comes down to it, we're Christian first, American second.
Correct.
And whoever is the president, we hope they do the best job that they can. That's correct. The wish we have for any president.
Yeah, but it's not as simple as that. People are not just celebrating the victory in the vote count. They're celebrating what it means. And this is something that you would do like retrospectively, like hey, I don't believe this personally, but like, let's just say someone was saying, hey, it was great that we had a businessman as the president for a while, or hey, it was great that we had Trump as the president for these reasons, whatever, or Barack Obama, right? It was great that we had the first black president of the United States. It was great that we had a president who could shoot from the three pointer line, whatever. If they want to retrospectively say that, fine, but people are celebrating and giving parades and filling up the streets with what it means now. Well, we've got the first female vice president. We've got the first female black and Indian daughter of immigrants president. And we've got the first dogs coming back into the White House, the first rescue dog coming into the White House. They're celebrating things that haven't happened yet. And they're celebrating the what it means aspect of their victory instead of just saying, we've got the majority of the counts, we can get the electoral. They're not keeping it at that. And what that does, and when the news medias start to pinpoint those things like, hey, what this means for the LGBTQ community, what this means for this community, and what it means for that community, if there was fraud, and if the court cases do change the results of the election, it's going to look really bad to take those things away. And that's the way they want it to look. they are
They're just going to get
putting-
more mad if it ever gets taken away from them. They're just
Yeah.
going to get that much more devastated and that much more angry if
Even,
that
yeah,
ever happens.
even if the majority of America voted for Trump to win, or the electoral college vote was for Trump to win, and it was all kosher, and they were able to prove it in court, there was evidence, there was proof, it was ruled on by the judges. Even if that was the case, now they're taking away that first rescue dog from the White House. Now they're taking away that first woman vice president. They're taking away the first daughter of immigrants vice president. They're taking those things away from the people, and that's exactly how they want it to look. And unfortunately, that is an emotional gameplay, and it really, really pisses me off to see that that's what's happening. To see the celebrating is so surreal, because you and I know that it's not over with, and it could very well still go in Biden's favor, but to see all of this premature celebrating when it hasn't been certified, it hasn't actually happened yet, it's just surreal. I don't know whether to feel bad for them or to just be like, yeah, I don't even know how to feel. Like, I don't feel angry. I just feel like, I guess I do feel kind of angry, but like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, what are you doing? You know?
We're just going to have to do, if it comes down to the point where and this is a big if Trump's lawsuits come through, if it comes out that he does winning the electoral college because of his disputes, and they riot, they get angry, they feel like something is taken away from them that they thought they already had. It's the mindset of people right now where they think, well, I've already earned this by existing. I already deserve these things. For you to not give me something I never had to begin with, you're taking it from me. And we're just going to have to do what we've been buckling down and doing, where when the riots happened, when people are calling for healthcare, for free this, free school, free colleges, which I go to a private Christian college. I would still not support free schooling, no matter how much it costs, one way or the other.
If Biden wins and we get $10,000 knocked off of our student loans, I still got student loans. You know, if that were to happen, that would be awesome. But I don't think I deserve it. That's not what I want to happen. You know,
because then you want to know what happens when you make colleges public schools? They get as crappy as public schools do, depending on how much money they get from the state. But it's just that mentality of, well, I feel like I deserve this because I say so, and for you not to give it to me, you're taking it from me. That's just the mentality that people our ages are feeling right now, and it sucks because they don't. I feel kind of hypocritical saying this, but I haven't worked. I haven't had a job yet. I haven't worked for the things that I have in a traditional aspect. I respect my parents. They do make my life comfortable, and I'm thankful for that. But they did make it a point to teach me the value of hard work, having a good work ethic. I would go with them to the mission trips. I would volunteer at the church. I'd make sure that if ever there was a situation where I could help someone, I could do something, I would do it. I value the idea of hard work. I value the idea of getting something because you physically did something yourself to earn it, rather than demanding it from somebody else and then throwing a fit when I don't get it.
Yeah, and when you see people celebrating those things that haven't actually been finished, and it shows that, hey, like, the work hasn't been done yet, like the election isn't finished, we don't actually know yet, and they're celebrating like they have already won. It shows that kind of mentality. It shows that kind of mentality that, hey, I just want what I wanted. I want it to happen now. Trump needs to get out now, you know, and they pretend like it's actually there, like that's actually happened. And a couple of things to note too. Biden was making claims of unity and healing and bringing the country together, when I don't know about you, Andrew, but we have not seen that. It's
worse now than it has ever been.
You've got people saying, if you voted for Trump, I don't want you anywhere near my family. I don't want you anywhere near me. I don't need you in my life. If you voted for
Unfollow
Trump,
me, unfriend me. And I haven't seen anyone on the right or Republican saying that. I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are doing that. But anyone who does that, anyone who says, well, your politics decides whether or not we're friends or whether or not I can treat you like a human being, that's just sad
yeah.
for anyone.
And you're hearing too from some of the Democratic politicians saying, "Hey, we should keep track of the people who supported Trump and who gave money to the Trump administration, just to keep track of them. Make a blacklist, if you will,
For
of
the
those
party
people."
that says whose talking point is being against fascism, that's straight out of the fascism playbook.
Sounds like a great
Right
thing
out of
to
the
do.
playbook.
And even the posture
Saying that they're not going to get publishing deals, saying that they're going to be doxxed. Their names are going to come out if they ever try to get into politics ever again. If they ever try to spread any kind of public opinion, they're going to get pointed out as, hey, they were part of the Trump campaign or they were a supporter of any kind.
Yeah,
literally. Look up, anyone who doesn't already know or anyone who's heard the word fascism thrown around or fascist thrown, look up the definition. Look up the Webster definition of fascism and actually understand what that means.
And these aren't just your everyday people. These are like Michelle Obama saying that the Trump voters and supporters were enabling racism and bigotry and all these things. These are, I guess there's a politician, AOC, who's really popular right now, saying that we need to gather up that list. And there's, I follow Occupy Democrats, and he's one of the main voices for the Democratic Party on social media. The hate and division and outright just like shameful speaking it's embarrassing to see that that Biden is claiming to bring unity and cleansing and healing to the country, and then to see that the people who are directly under him are doing the exact opposite. So
it's amazing how intolerant tolerance can be.
Right. So we knew that this was something that was potentially going to happen, and we're ready for it. We're ready for it. I think this election has emboldened us to be more vocal about our faith. I think this election has emboldened us to be a little bit more vocal about our values. And as we find out who really ends up winning the election, whether it's Trump or Biden, I think that this election was really good for us as podcast hosts of this podcast, because it's really shown us that we do need to speak out on these things. Like, we do need to look at the hypocrisy of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Like,
Absolutely.
Again, Republican Party is not perfect. Trump is not perfect. He is the furthest thing away from perfect. And I don't think anybody. Well, I guess there's some people, but there are some Trumpists, as I've heard it claimed, Trump followers.
Not us.
But I don't think any sane person voted for Trump because of Trump.
And that's the big difference between identity politics and political discourse.
Yeah.
With being able to have that discussion.
Yeah. And honestly, if you want to see unity and healing after this election, then you will continue to be friends with the people who disagree with you and seek to understand them and seek to listen to them and why they believe what they believe. And you will be open to sharing why you believe what you believe and seek to have other people understand you. That is the only way we come out of this unified as Americans and unified as a country, to where, hey, I might have different opinions than you. I might have different opinions on policies or politics or even religion or even lifestyles, whatever, but I still respect you as a human being enough to hear you and hear out why you believe what you believe, and I would expect for you to do the same for me. That's the only way we come out of this with unity and healing for the country. So that is what we hope you do. That is what we hope America does. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we shall see. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star rating and review, and visit our website, www.thecastbros.com, so you can see all those episodes. Be sure to subscribe so that you can be notified when we put out new episodes. And again, all of these episodes are available on YouTube. If you if you click the watch this episode below, you'll be able to see that and see the music video reactions. So, till next time.
Take care now.
Bye-bye then.